The studio was loud until one calm voice turned noise into silence. What happened next on live television left everyone frozen in their seats. The red light blinked on, signaling the show was live, and the audience erupted in applause as Keanu Reeves walked onto the stage. He moved with his usual quiet humility, a small nod, a soft smile, nothing exaggerated. The host greeted him with enthusiasm that felt just a little too sharp, the kind of energy meant to stir something beneath the surface. From the outside, it looked like another standard appearance, a beloved actor promoting a project, trading jokes, keeping things light. But beneath the polished smiles and rehearsed banter, tension was already forming. Keanu took his seat, folding his hands loosely in his lap. The conversation began smoothly enough. Questions about his latest film, his dedication to stunts, the discipline behind his performances. The audience laughed, applauded, settled into the rhythm they expected. But live shows thrive on moments that break routine, and the host was clearly steering toward one. The shift was subtle at first, a slight change in tone, a longer pause before the next question. Then it came, framed as curiosity but edged with provocation, designed to pull Keanu into a debate he never asked for. The room reacted instantly. A low murmur rippled through the crowd. Even people watching from home could feel the shift. This wasn't about the movie anymore. It was about pressure. The camera zoomed in, waiting for a reaction, waiting for a spark. Keanu didn't rush to respond. He didn't laugh it off. He didn't bristle. He simply looked at the host, listening fully, as if the rest of the world had faded away. That pause was the first thing that changed everything. Silence on live television is dangerous, but Keanu seemed comfortable in it. The host shifted slightly, perhaps realizing the moment wasn't unfolding as planned. When Keanu finally spoke, his voice was steady, almost soft, but it carried a quiet authority that demanded attention. He began by saying he understood why such questions were asked, why narratives were pushed, why conflict often felt more interesting than conversation. The audience leaned in. You could hear it in the room, the way breaths slowed, the way movement stopped. Keanu spoke about responsibility, about how words shape perception, especially on platforms that reach millions. He didn't accuse. He didn't attack. Instead, he reflected. He talked about how easy it is to reduce people to labels and how hard it is to truly listen. With every sentence, the tension shifted away from him and back into the space itself. The host tried to interject, a quick comment meant to redirect or regain control, but Keanu continued, not interrupting, not overpowering, simply holding his ground. His calm was disarming. It removed the usual weapons of confrontation. There was nothing to push against, no anger to escalate. Just clarity. He said that disagreement doesn't require disrespect and that challenging ideas should never come at the cost of human dignity. Applause broke out before he even finished the thought. It wasn't loud at first, but it grew, spreading through the audience like recognition. The host nodded, smiling tightly, but the balance had shifted. This was no longer an interview being led. It was a moment being witnessed. Keanu hadn't raised his voice once, yet the studio felt quieter than it had all night. Cameras cut to the audience, faces wide-eyed, some nodding, some clearly moved. Behind the scenes, producers exchanged looks. This wasn't the explosive confrontation they'd anticipated. There was no headline-ready argument, no viral shouting match. Instead, there was something far more unsettling for a format built on drama. There was sincerity. Keanu continued, now addressing the broader idea of public discourse. He spoke about how being in the spotlight doesn't remove one's obligation to be kind. How live television shouldn't mean abandoning empathy. His words weren't rehearsed. They flowed naturally, shaped by conviction rather than performance. Each sentence landed gently but firmly, like a reminder rather than a rebuke. The host adjusted posture, voice softer now, responding with a neutral comment that felt almost cautious. The power dynamic had shifted completely. The audience sensed it. They weren't watching a celebrity defend himself. They were watching a person define the boundaries of respect in real time. Keanu answered the next question briefly, bringing the conversation back toward the film, but the earlier moment lingered, hanging in the air like an echo. As the segment neared its end, the applause returned, stronger this time. Keanu stood, thanked the audience, and offered a small nod to the host. No grand gesture, no victorious smile. Just composure. As he walked off stage, the cameras followed him for a moment longer than usual, as if reluctant to let the moment go. During the commercial break, the studio buzzed, but not with chaos. It was a different energy, reflective, almost subdued. Crew members whispered. Audience members exchanged looks. Everyone knew they had just witnessed something rare. Not a clash fueled by ego, but a stand grounded in calm conviction. Viewers at home were already reacting. Clips began circulating within minutes. Comments poured in, praising Keanu's restraint, his wisdom, his ability to silence a room without silencing anyone at all. Some called it a shutdown. Others called it a lesson. But what made it powerful was its simplicity. He hadn't tried to win. He had simply refused to participate in something that didn't align with his values. When the show returned from break, the tone was noticeably different. The host spoke more carefully, the questions more measured. The audience responded warmly, but the earlier tension had transformed into respect. Keanu had reset the space, not through force, but through presence. Live television rarely allows for such moments, but when it does, they leave a lasting imprint. As the credits rolled later that night, one thing was clear. The studio hadn't been silenced by confrontation. It had been quieted by truth spoken calmly, deliberately, and without fear. And that quiet spoke louder than any argument ever could. After the show ended and the studio lights dimmed, the moment refused to fade. What happened on that live stage kept echoing far beyond the walls of the building. Staff members packed equipment more slowly than usual, conversations hushed but intense. It wasn't gossip they were sharing, it was reflection. Everyone sensed they had witnessed something that didn't fit the usual television formula. Keanu walked down the hallway with the same quiet demeanor he arrived with, thanking crew members by name, stopping briefly to shake hands, offering sincere smiles. There was no sign he believed he had just won anything. That, more than anything, left an impression. In an industry where moments are measured by how loud they explode online, his restraint felt almost revolutionary. Within an hour, clips of the exchange were everywhere. Short edits, raw footage, slowed down replays of his pause before speaking. View counts climbed rapidly. Comment sections filled with people describing the same feeling in different words. Calm, respect, strength. Many viewers admitted they expected drama and instead found themselves unexpectedly moved. Others said it reminded them of conversations that used to happen before shouting became the norm. Media outlets scrambled to frame the moment. Some tried to label it a confrontation, others a shutdown, others a tense exchange. But the footage resisted exaggeration. There was no anger to amplify, no insult to quote. Analysts replayed his words carefully, noting how he never attacked the host, never belittled the question, never dismissed the audience. He simply redirected the energy of the room. The host, later that night, faced questions of their own. Social media users dissected their body language, the shift in tone, the visible recalibration mid-interview. Some criticized, others defended, but most agreed on one thing. Control had slipped, not because of aggression, but because calm had taken over. It's difficult to overpower someone who isn't fighting you. Keanu's fans weren't surprised. They pointed to years of quiet consistency. Stories of him giving up his seat, riding the subway unnoticed, supporting coworkers behind the scenes. To them, this moment wasn't an anomaly. It was simply Keanu being Keanu, choosing humanity over spectacle, even when millions were watching. What made the moment resonate was timing. Audiences are used to outrage, used to talking heads clashing, used to volume being mistaken for truth. Seeing someone pause, think, and respond with intention felt almost unfamiliar. That unfamiliarity made it powerful. People didn't just watch the clip, they replayed it. They listened. And in doing so, they mirrored the very behavior Keanu modeled. Over the next few days, the exchange became a reference point. Commentators mentioned it when discussing civility in media. Educators shared it as an example of communication without escalation. Even late-night monologues alluded to it, some with humor, others with genuine admiration. The studio silence had turned into a wider conversation, one that extended far beyond entertainment. Keanu remained absent from the noise. When asked about the moment during a later interview, he gently redirected, praising the crew, the audience, the opportunity to speak openly. He didn't frame it as a statement or a stand. He treated it as a conversation that happened, nothing more. That refusal to claim the spotlight again only deepened the respect people felt. Behind closed doors, producers reportedly revisited their approach. Not because of backlash alone, but because the moment revealed something important. Audiences were responding not to chaos, but to authenticity. The clip's popularity wasn't driven by shock, but by relief. Relief at seeing someone choose decency under pressure. The audience members who were in the studio that night later described a strange stillness they hadn't felt before on a live show. One person said it felt like time slowed down. Another said it felt like being in a room where everyone suddenly agreed without speaking. That shared silence became the most talked about part of the broadcast. As weeks passed, the clip continued circulating, resurfacing whenever discussions about media ethics or celebrity culture arose. It became shorthand for a certain kind of strength. Not dominance, not aggression, but composure. People began referencing it in everyday conversations, saying things like, "Handle it the Keanu way," meaning pause, listen, respond with care. The irony was hard to miss. In trying to provoke a moment, the show had instead revealed a deeper truth about what audiences crave. Not humiliation, not shouting, but connection. Keanu hadn't silenced the studio to make a point. He had done it by refusing to abandon his values, even when it would have been easier to play along. Looking back, the exchange didn't change Keanu's career trajectory. He didn't need it to. But it did add another layer to his public image, reinforcing why he's trusted, why his words carry weight even when spoken softly. It reminded people that credibility isn't built in dramatic moments alone, but in consistent behavior over time. The studio returned to its usual rhythm the following week. New guests, new questions, new attempts at viral moments. But something lingered. A memory of a night when noise lost its grip, when a calm presence redirected an entire room. Crew members remembered it. Viewers remembered it. And the internet, for once, didn't forget immediately. In the end, the showdown everyone expected never happened. There was no explosion, no walk-off, no bitter exchange. Instead, there was a lesson delivered quietly, live, and without force. Keanu Reeves didn't silence the studio by overpowering it. He did it by standing still, speaking honestly, and letting truth do the rest. And that is why the moment lasted. Because long after the applause faded and the cameras shut down, the silence he created kept speaking.